Who's the best drummer you've seen live? Well, Buddy Rich, Mitch Mitchell. There's a lot of drummers that I really like that aren't famous names. They just have a great lope. They just have a great feel to them. Taylor Hawkins just had a great feel to him. Ringo Starr, Charlie Watts. No chops there, but just that groove is way, way cool.
The drummer who powered the Police has his own percussion heroes. Stewart Copeland, one of rock's most inventive rhythm masters, has revealed the 5 drummers who shaped his style and inspired his legendary beats. His choices span genres and generations, showcasing the artistry and innovation that drive great drumming. These picks pull back the curtain on what moves a musician who redefined the sound of modern rock. Buddy Rich. Buddy Rich, often hailed as the greatest jazz drummer of all time, stands as a monumental figure in the history of percussion. His career, which stretched across nearly 7 decades, was a masterclass in technical brilliance, innovation, and unrelenting showmanship. To Stewart Copeland, the legendary drummer of the Police, Rich represents an entirely different dimension of influence, a paragon of precision whose artistry transcends genre boundaries. Buddy was just incredible, Copeland admits, his voice betraying a mixture of awe and affection. His technique was insane, the speed, the precision, the control. Watching him play was like watching a magician. Rich could make his sticks blur in midair, his hands moving faster than the eye could follow. Whether leading a big band through a blistering swing number or dazzling a small club audience with an unaccompanied solo, Rich seemed untouchable, his confidence as palpable as the sound of his snare cracking like a whip. What set Buddy Rich apart wasn't just his ability to play fast or loud. It was the combination of speed and musicality. Every roll, every cymbal crash, every ghost note was deliberate, perfectly placed to serve the song while simultaneously pushing the boundaries of what drumming could be. Copeland, whose own style is known for its intricate hi-hat patterns and unexpected rhythmic accents, recognizes in Rich the blueprint for using technical mastery as a storytelling tool. He made it look effortless, Copeland says, but you knew it wasn't. You knew he'd put in the hours, the years, to get to that level. Rich's influence on Copeland may not leap out as obviously as Mitch Mitchell's fluid jazz-rock fusion or Bonham's towering power, but it resides in the details. The rapid-fire rolls that punctuate a Police track, the delicate interplay of cymbals that shimmer around Copeland's reggae-inflected grooves, the flair for dramatic timing that transforms a simple beat into a performance in itself. For Copeland, drumming is not just a backbone for the band, it is an act of communication and theater, a philosophy that owes much to Rich's example. Buddy wasn't just a drummer, he was a showman, Copeland reflects. He had this way of commanding the stage, of making you watch him even when there was a whole band playing around him. That's something I've always tried to bring to my own playing, that sense of being part of the spectacle, part of the drama. Indeed, Rich was famous for his ability to dominate the spotlight without overshadowing the music. His solos were not merely displays of technical skill, they were narratives in rhythm, building tension and releasing it with a flourish that left audiences breathless. Even beyond technique and showmanship, Buddy Rich's career serves as a lesson in dedication and longevity. Born in 1917, he was performing professionally by the age of 2. A child prodigy who would go on to share stages with jazz giants like Tommy Dorsey, Count Basie, and Art Tatum. His perfectionism was legendary, sometimes notoriously so. He demanded the same high standards from his bandmates that he demanded of himself, a commitment to excellence that made his bands among the tightest in the business. Copeland, who has often spoken about the importance of discipline and rehearsal, sees in Rich a kindred spirit, an artist for whom the pursuit of greatness was non-negotiable. Rich's legacy also lies in the way he blurred the line between jazz and popular culture. His television appearances on shows like The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson brought big band drumming into living rooms across America, inspiring generations of players who might never have set foot in a smoky jazz club. That accessibility resonates with Copeland, who himself brought reggae rhythms and odd time signatures into mainstream rock without sacrificing complexity or authenticity. John Bonham, the legendary engine of Led Zeppelin, has long been a totemic figure for rock drummers. His influence stretches across decades and genres, but for Copeland, that appreciation deepened over time. When I was younger, I didn't fully appreciate Bonham, Copeland admits with a hint of self-awareness. I mean, I knew he was good, but I didn't really get it. Now, though, I'm more inspired by him than ever. That shift in perspective speaks volumes. As a young drummer immersed in punk and reggae influences, Copeland gravitated towards speed, agility, and rhythmic surprises. Bonham's seemingly straightforward, heavy grooves might have felt less radical in that moment, but years of experience and a deeper understanding of nuance revealed something far greater. Bonham wasn't merely pounding drums, he was sculpting sound with purpose and precision. Copeland pauses when describing this revelation, searching for the perfect phrasing. It wasn't just about hitting hard, though he could do that better than anyone. There was something deeper, something almost spiritual about the way he played. He had this ability to make every beat feel monumental. Listen to When the Levee Breaks, and that description becomes self-evident. The iconic opening, thunderous, roomy, and impossibly huge, feels less like a drum intro and more like the cracking of the earth. Bonham's bass drum pulses like tectonic movement, while his snare reverberates with primal force. It's not speed or technical complexity that makes the track unforgettable. It's the deliberate weight of every strike, the sense that each note is as essential as a heartbeat. Copeland, who has built a career on intricate hi-hat work and darting snare accents, finds in Bonham an entirely different but equally profound lesson. Restraint and placement can be as powerful as complexity. This purposeful approach permeated Led Zeppelin's catalog. On Kashmir, Bonham's steady hypnotic groove anchors the song's swirling strings and plants soaring vocals, proving that a drummer's role can be monumental without being flashy. On Good Times, Bad Times, his footwork on the bass drum set a new standard for rock percussion, blending jaw-dropping technical skill with an infectious swing. Even on explosive tracks like Rock and Roll, Bonham's energy never feels reckless. It's tightly controlled chaos, like a storm that knows exactly where it's headed. Copeland has called Bonham the ultimate rock drummer, and it's easy to understand why. Bonham managed to balance thunderous intensity with a subtle, almost delicate sense of groove. His drumming could shake stadium walls but also breathe and flow with remarkable sensitivity. That balance is what captivates Copeland most. He recognizes in Bonham an ability to serve the song above all else, to understand when to unleash fury and when to let space speak louder than sound. For Copeland, Bonham's example is both humbling and inspiring. The Police's music might not echo Zeppelin's bombast, but the principles Bonham embodied, discipline, feel, and an unwavering sense of purpose, find their way into Copeland's work. Songs like Every Breath You Take or Walking on the Moon show Copeland's mastery of space and restraint, a skill he attributes in part to Bonham's influence. The art of making every note count, of giving a groove weight without overcrowding it, is a direct lineage from Bonham's philosophy. What also resonates with Copeland is Bonham's spiritual connection to rhythm. Many drummers can play loud or fast, but few can make their playing feel like an elemental force. Bonham achieved that through an almost mystical sense of timing and dynamics. His drumming wasn't a layer on top of Led Zeppelin's music. It was the bedrock. This awareness of music's emotional core is something Copeland has sought to capture in his own performances. You're not just hearing a drum part, you're hearing a force of nature, Copeland says, echoing his awe. Ginger Baker. Among the pantheon of rock's most legendary drummers, Ginger Baker stands apart, not just for his dazzling technique, but for his unapologetic individuality. As the driving rhythmic force behind Cream, Baker wasn't content to simply keep time. He reshaped what rock drumming could be, merging the improvisational freedom of jazz with the raw power of rock and the complex, hypnotic rhythms of African music. His approach was not evolutionary, it was revolutionary. To Stewart Copeland, a drummer who has spent his own career blurring boundaries, Baker's genius is nothing short of awe-inspiring. Ginger was a total original, Copeland says, his admiration unmistakable. The way he used his tom-toms, it was like nothing anyone else was doing at the time. He wasn't just playing beats, he was creating these rhythmic landscapes. It was like he was painting with drums. Baker's sound was instantly recognizable. On tracks like White Room and Sunshine of Your Love, his drumming surged and receded like waves, punctuating Eric Clapton's guitar lines and Jack Bruce's bass with thunderous fills that felt both unpredictable and inevitable. Unlike many of his contemporaries who stuck closely to rock's 4/4 framework, Baker wove intricate polyrhythms into Cream's music, borrowing liberally from the West African drumming traditions he deeply admired. His extended drum solos, such as the iconic Toad, weren't just technical showcases. They were explorations of space and melody, proving that drums could carry a narrative just as compelling as any guitar solo. What made Baker such a maverick was not just his musicality, but his restless spirit and willingness to take risks. He was famously fiery in temperament, known for his volatile relationships with bandmates and his refusal to conform to expectations. That same defiance infused his playing. Baker approached the drum kit as a full orchestra of possibilities, unafraid to push beyond the safe or familiar. Sometimes, as Copeland acknowledges, the risks didn't always pay off, but when they did, the result was pure magic. Copeland draws a direct line between Baker's adventurousness and his own philosophy of drumming. Ginger wasn't afraid to experiment, he says. That's what I've always tried to do, to push the boundaries, to see what's possible. In Copeland's work with the Police, one can hear echoes of Baker's daring, the unexpected accents, the off-kilter rhythms, and the melodic use of the toms and cymbals that elevate the drums from mere timekeeping to active storytelling. Songs like Walking on the Moon or Driven to Tears showcase Copeland's ability to treat the kit not as a background instrument, but as a vital part of the song's emotional core, a sensibility he traces back to Baker's example. Baker's influence extended far beyond Cream. After the band's breakup, he delved deeply into jazz fusion with projects like Ginger Baker's Air Force, and he immersed himself in African music, collaborating with Nigerian Afrobeat pioneer Fela Kuti. This openness to global sounds was groundbreaking at the time and expanded the possibilities of what rock musicians could explore. His journey to Nigeria to record with local drummers wasn't a publicity stunt. It was a genuine artistic pilgrimage. Baker was committed to understanding and respecting the traditions he borrowed from, even as he adapted them into his own work. Part of Baker's mystique lies in the tension between his larger-than-life personality and his delicate touch behind the kit. Despite his reputation for ferocity, he could play with subtlety and sensitivity, shifting effortlessly between thunderous crescendos and gentle, almost whispered rhythms. This dynamic range added depth and drama to every performance, reminding listeners that power and finesse are not mutually exclusive. Mitch Mitchell. For Stewart Copeland, the heartbeat of the Police, there is one drummer whose name comes rushing to mind before all others. Mitch Mitchell, the whirlwind behind the kit for the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Copeland has never been shy about pointing out how Mitchell shaped his own adventurous approach to rhythm. Mitchell, with his unmistakable jazz-inflected style, wasn't content to be a background timekeeper. He treated drumming as an equal voice in the conversation, a thread woven deeply into Hendrix's towering guitar lines. His sticks danced across toms and cymbals, creating a sense of urgency and excitement that matched Hendrix's unearthly solos. Mitch was the most inspiring drummer for me, Copeland has said with unmistakable admiration. He wasn't just playing beats, he was part of the magic. That electric spark he had, it was perfect for Hendrix. Together, They were like this explosion of creativity. To Copeland, Mitchell's work represented a philosophy of drumming that went beyond technique. It was about being fearless, willing to leap into the unknown and trust that instinct and emotion would carry the music to new places. Listen to Jimi Hendrix Experience tracks like Fire or Manic Depression, and Mitchell's fingerprints are everywhere. On Fire, his crisp snare and lightning-fast rolls transform a standard rock groove into a controlled detonation. On Manic Depression, his unusual waltz-like rhythm turns what could have been a straightforward blues rock number into a swirling, off-balance masterpiece. Mitchell wasn't merely marking time. He was reacting, prodding Hendrix forward, and sometimes even steering the music into unexpected terrain. This risk-taking quality is exactly what Copeland absorbed. Copeland has often compared Mitchell's interplay with Hendrix to an on-stage conversation. Hendrix's guitar might shout, and Mitchell would shout back with a flurry of fills, or Hendrix might whisper, and Mitchell would respond with a delicate cymbal pattern. It was like he was riffing with Hendrix, not just following him, Copeland reflected. This idea, that a drummer could be a co-creator rather than a subordinate, became central to Copeland's identity behind the kit. In The Police, that philosophy is audible everywhere. Take the high-wire urgency of Message in a Bottle. Copeland's drumming is not a simple backbeat, but a restless, syncopated current that pushes Sting's melody forward. Or listen to Can't Stand Losing You, where his frantic hi-hat work and darting snare hits create a sense of barely contained chaos. These flourishes are pure Mitchell, a willingness to disrupt, to surprise, to make the rhythm itself a source of tension and excitement. Mitchell's jazz background also played a crucial role in shaping Copeland's sense of freedom. Whereas many rock drummers of the late 1960s emphasized brute force and straight-ahead timekeeping, Mitchell borrowed from the improvisational language of Elvin Jones and Tony Williams. His playing had swing, elasticity, and melodic awareness. Copeland, who came of age surrounded by reggae, punk, and world rhythms, found in Mitchell a kindred spirit, someone who understood that the most compelling grooves breathe, shift, and evolve in real time. Another hallmark of Mitchell's influence is the idea of drumming as color. Copeland often describes Mitchell's fills as painting the music, rather than simply decorating it. In Hendrix's Little Wing, for example, Mitchell's subtle cymbal swells and delicate rolls add an emotional undercurrent that words can't capture. Copeland adopted this painterly mindset, using rim shots, ghost notes, and unexpected accents to give the Police's songs their distinctive character. Even in a stripped-down trio format, his drums made the band sound larger and more dynamic. Copeland has admitted that Mitchell's fearlessness inspired him to take risks on stage. He recalls moments during Police performances when he would deliberately veer off script, throwing in a surprising pattern or shifting the groove just to see where the music would go. "That's what I always wanted to do in The Police," he explained. "Not just keep the beat, but push the music somewhere it might not have gone otherwise." This approach not only energized his bandmates, but also made the Police stand out in a crowded post-punk landscape. At a time when many drummers were locking into rigid, metronomic beats, Copeland injected personality and spontaneity, an ethos directly traceable to Mitchell's influence. Ringo Starr. While Buddy Rich's dazzling technical fireworks may leave jaws hanging, Stewart Copeland is equally eager to defend a very different kind of genius, the understated artistry of Ringo Starr. For decades, casual listeners and even some musicians have dismissed Ringo as merely the lucky Beatle, a drummer whose style was supposedly too simple or uninspired to merit serious respect. But Copeland bristles at that notion, hearing in Starr's playing a mastery that is easily overlooked. "People underestimate Ringo," Copeland says, his tone sharpened with indignation. "They think because he wasn't flashy, he wasn't great. But they're wrong. Ringo was brilliant in his own way. He played for the song, not for himself, and that's a rare quality." In an era when drummers were often tempted to overplay, to stuff every measure with fills and flourishes, Starr's restraint was revolutionary. His parts were deceptively simple, but each note was intentional. Copeland points to "Come Together" as a prime example. The hypnotic tom pattern, dry snare, and perfectly timed accents create an atmosphere that defines the entire track. Remove that drum part, and the song loses much of its identity. Similarly, on "Tomorrow Never Knows," Starr's repetitive mantra-like groove serves as the backbone for one of the Beatles' most experimental recordings. Without his steady, imaginative pulse, the track's swirling tape loops and ethereal vocals might have collapsed into chaos. What fascinates Copeland is not just Starr's ability to support a song, but the discipline it takes to do so consistently. "Those drum parts are perfect," Copeland says. "They're not over the top. They're not trying to show off. They're just exactly what the song needs. And that's harder than it looks. Trust me, I've spent years trying to do the same thing." Coming from a drummer known for his own inventive patterns and rhythmic complexity, this is high praise. Copeland recognizes that choosing restraint over bravado is not the easy path. It requires a deep understanding of the music and a willingness to subsume one's ego for the greater good. Starr's brilliance also lies in his musical sensitivity. He wasn't formally trained, and perhaps that's what gave his drumming a uniquely human, slightly off-kilter feel that perfectly complemented the Beatles' songs. His fills often start or end in unexpected places, creating a sense of movement and surprise without ever derailing the tune. On tracks like "A Day in the Life" or "Rain," his drumming is more than just accompaniment. It's commentary, adding emotional depth and character without demanding attention. Copeland himself has built a career on marrying technical ability with musical empathy. The Police's catalog is filled with songs where the drumming not only drives the rhythm, but also enhances the storytelling. In hearing Ringo, Copeland hears a kindred spirit, a player who understands that music is ultimately a conversation, not a competition. "Ringo taught all of us that you don't need to be the loudest or fastest to be memorable," Copeland suggests. "You need to listen, to respond, to elevate what's already there." Starr's impact becomes even clearer when viewed against the backdrop of his time. In the 1960s, drummers like Keith Moon or Ginger Baker were celebrated for their flamboyant virtuosity, filling every space with explosive rolls or complex patterns. Starr, by contrast, chose to serve the song rather than dominate it. His approach made the Beatles' recordings accessible and emotionally resonant, allowing John, Paul, and George's melodies to shine without distraction. This ethos of collaboration over showmanship left an indelible mark on generations of drummers who followed. Even the Beatles themselves acknowledged Ringo's importance. Paul McCartney once noted that while Starr might not have been the most technically advanced drummer, he was always exactly the drummer the Beatles needed. His feel, timing, and creativity were integral to the band's signature sound. Copeland echoes this sentiment, seeing in Ringo a reminder that technical mastery alone is not enough to make great music. What do you think of Stewart Copeland's 5 favorite drummers? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.